and welcome back to Showing My Boyfriend Anime. Today, we're going to tackle an anime classic. It's a modern classic. It is The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. It tells the story of regular average high school student named Kyon, no real name given, as he ponders whether aliens, time travelers, and espers could possibly be real, and he laments the fact that they are not, until he meets the titular Haruhi Suzumiya, who sits behind him in class.
Does he lament that, or was that like a her kind of thing? I feel like it was more like a Haruhi was like, I wish these things were real, and then because she's like a god, or she's been given the powers of a god, she manifests them without realizing it. What if Kyon was the god the whole time, and he manifested Haruhi, and then he just thought Haruhi manifested all those other guys?
That is a fan theory, yes. That is a popular fan theory.
And since the other guys like, we can't let Haruhi know, by trying to divert the attention to Haruhi, they are also not letting him know, yeah. Which is his whole MO. That would be cool, but I mean, the show doesn't have enough time to like...
So he meets Haruhi Suzumiya, who sits behind him in class, and just in talking to her about her interests and what she wants out of life, he plants the idea of what if there was a club that sought out these mysterious things in the world, tried to help people with paranormal problems. And so is birthed the SOS Brigade, the spreading excitement all over the world with Haruhi Suzumiya Brigade, the SOS Brigade for short. Along with 3 other recruits, Yuki Nagato, a stoic alien from outer space, Mikuru, the coy and bumbling time traveler from the future, and Itsuki, the charming and suave Esper boy. The 5 of them are set out to discover the world's mysteries, but little does Haruhi realize she's actually the cause of all of these things. You see, 3 years before the start of the series, she somehow manifested the powers of reality warping, fitting the real world to her whim. But if she finds out about this power, bad things are happening. Do you want a god that doesn't know they're a god, or a god that does know they're a god? It's kind of the problem that these 4 others have to face. So Haruhi is just leading them through all of these exciting adventures, while Kyon is reluctantly going through all of them, thinking that they're extremely annoying, and the other 3 are just placating her, hoping that she doesn't destroy the world. So, now that we got all that out of the way, I'm just going to talk about my history with this show. This was probably the first real anime that I watched when I was like 11. The only anime that I'd really watched before then was stuff like Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon.
That's real anime.
Well, yeah, but what I'm talking about is like, it was heavily localized in the American broadcast. So...
Well, that's because 4 kids.
Exactly, but that's what I'm talking about. Is the only stuff that I had ever interacted with was 4 kids dubs, like Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, Mew Mew Power, came from Tokyo Mew Mew, stuff like that. I had absolutely no exposure to the other worlds of anime that existed beyond the world of 4 kids. So when I found this, I was like, oh my god, this is like completely different from what I've normally seen. And I was hooked. I thought this was just the coolest thing ever. But the problem is that when you have a socially awkward kid, their only like exposure to like human interaction is an anime where a girl doesn't want to follow the rules of society. It can get a little bit weird. So yeah, I had to deal with that growing up. But yeah.
That's why parents gotta watch what their kids are doing online.
Yeah. It's okay if your kids want to watch it. Just make sure that they know that anime is not reality. But yeah, so this anime has a place in my heart, and I really do love it. I'm probably going to be the first to admit that there are a lot of flaws in the anime. Admittedly, I have not read the remainder of the light novels. I've read the wiki, the Haruhi wiki, summaries of them, because the light novels are pretty much impossible to find here stateside. I know that they are published stateside, but I can't find them in any of the stores that I go to, so...
Just go online and order them.
I could do that. I should. But yeah, so the anime only covers about maybe like a third of the plot. Maybe closer to like a half, between like a third and a half.
Could have covered more if they didn't spend 8 episodes on the same episode.
Yeah, we'll get to that. So yeah, admittedly I don't know a ton about the light novels. I do know some of the plot stuff. I know about Sasaki, and I know about the rivaling factions and stuff like that. I know about them. How they interact with the characters, I sort of know that, but I haven't read the light novels themselves. So we're just going to be analyzing the anime on its own in isolation, not in relation to the light novels. Alright, and so we're going to go to Rob to see what he thought of it.
It's kind of hard to really dissect something like this without having the whole story, especially because you're essentially, by proxy, reviewing the source material, because this is an adaptation of that. And really, what you'd want to do is talk about how they adapted it. But since I don't have any reference for that, I guess I got to talk about this show as if it's a complete story, even though it's not. But even without it being a complete story, so I would say this is probably the second best behind Oran. I think when this show peaks, its peaks are better than Oran, but I think overall Oran was better consistently. This show touches on a lot of interesting science fiction topics. Well, also religious, but it's also like science fiction at the same time. The blending of it, it's kind of like Tron, where it blends both worlds. However, this one, I guess much like Tron, it doesn't spend enough time, or at least it doesn't have enough time to really delve into what any of that means. I will say that I think the first arc is probably the strongest, even if it was a little bit off-putting, because Haruhi is like, she just molests that poor girl.
Yeah, that's really the thing that...
It's a little uncomfortable.
Exactly.
I mean, but like, I accept, I'm not going to say, like, you mustn't do that. Like, that's just how it is.
Yeah, but I mean, like, when I watched that as a kid, I thought that was hilarious because I had never seen anything like that before.
Yeah.
But now that I'm growing up, and I'm 27 now that I see that, I'm like, oh, that's hard to watch.
Yeah, this girl is clearly a spoiled brat, but I think that also works in the favor of the show. I will say, this show, for me, peaked at episode 6. Nothing comes... I think episode 6 is probably the best thing that I have seen through all of this stuff. Like, the music and the animation, and the way that the water chaos monster from Sonic Adventure just explodes. Like, it was really good. That was like, wow, this is amazing. I can't wait to see where it goes. It, like, that whole thing, and then it never reaches that high again.
Yeah, and then it just spends the next times is like a lot of
spends a lot of not doing anything at all, and it kind of touches on some stuff.
Yeah.
I really wish it would explore more into how she got those powers, if they were given to her, if she just kind of had them. I know they kind of progressed that plot a little bit, because at the beginning, the Esper boy is like, oh, well, she's God, and we believe that she created the universe 3 years ago, and everything you know was just manifested by her like that. But then later he's like, well, we actually don't think that anymore. We think that somebody gave her powers, but they don't go into that. And it's like, well, who gave her the powers? And of course the show doesn't have enough time to really explore that topic, because they haven't adapted all of the light novel, and I don't know if they eventually go into that. It is frustrating because I feel like there's a lot of cool topics there. I think that the movie, which I'll rope that in with the rest of this, because it is essentially them taking an arc and then making it all one thing.
It's essentially the series finale, more or less. It's the culmination of Kyon's whole character arc of finding Haruhi, thinking that she's extremely annoying.
Which she is.
She is extremely annoying.
She's very obnoxious, but I think that also works in the show's favor, because they don't really go into it all that much, and I kind of wish they would, like, turn into it, because it is that existential dread that this really obnoxious, bratty girl is like, she could just destroy the world at any moment, and she doesn't even realize it, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, you just have to keep letting her abuse all these people. So it's like, you're like rats in a cage. Like, what are you gonna do? Hi, we had to switch cameras because we're recording off of a DSLR on the other one, and those aren't really made for doing video. But anyway, back to the review. So yeah, it's that, like, what do you do in the face of that? But the show doesn't really, like, make that a point. It's just like something you kind of pick up on, and like she's getting Miss Asahina drunk so that she'll be more likely to kiss this guy, and there's a really intense moment where Kyon almost just beats the shit out of her.
That was actually really cathartic when I first watched it, because I was like, good, finally he's willing to stand up for.
Yeah,
for
but like it's also like a horrible moment because it's like, no, I get it, but you're also taking it too far. You're gonna hit this girl.
Yeah.
Like she's taking things way too far and she's not listening.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be like, sometimes you got to smack a hoe, but I also like how he doesn't really immediately just calm down as soon as he gets stopped. He's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, he's still like
very angry.
He's still in his rage. Yeah.
But I think that was a peak. It wasn't as high as the one that I talked about before.
Yeah.
But it was still interesting. But the thing is just like with that concept of the existential dread of like, there's nothing we can do and she's just going to do whatever she wants. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really good that they show early on that the consequences of what happens when she doesn't, when she gets stuck in her feelings. Mm-hmm. It's just they don't go into it enough. And I think that's my biggest problem with the series is that they don't go into that enough. And because they don't, it just feels like it's just a plot device. So like what they really want to do is tell a story about a bunch of high schoolers fucking around, but they're just using this as sort of like some plot device to bring out the fucking around parts, and it feels shallow because they don't like they kind of go into it. They go into it farther mm-hmm. than they would really need to if they just wanted to like be like, oh, we're just doing this as a plot device. Yeah. That's why it's frustrating that they don't. But this could be explored in the other novels, and I just don't have the full picture. I can only report on what I saw. I think the movie was pretty good, and you're right, it does tie up his character arc. Mm-hmm. But the show, I don't know, it's weird. The show is named after someone else, mm-hmm. but it's really about him. Yeah. And so there's that disconnect, right? I do think they explore some science fiction themes pretty good in that, about robots gaining sentience or like wanting to feel emotion and destroying the world. Yeah. Or not destroying the world, but altering reality so they can do that, but still having enough sense to leave an escape clause behind just in case things should go back to the way it is. Yeah. And obviously that, like, the thematic thing behind that is really Kion's choice. Yeah. But that has nothing to do with, the little robot girl. Yuki. Yeah, Yuki. It has nothing, like, she's not the one giving that test to him, right? So that's kind of an outsider looking in sort of thing.
So that was actually, like I said to you on Discord, like, do you ever watch a movie enough times to the point where you're starting to, like, nitpick it a little bit? Mm-hmm. That's really what I was talking about, in the sense that I love The Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya. I think it is probably one of the best anime movies I've ever seen. It's a perfect finale to the series as it is.
I think on its own it wouldn't work though. You'd have to. It feels supplementary to the show. Yeah, you do. It's like a SpongeBob SquarePants movie where it's like you should probably watch the show.
Yeah, like you need the show for the full context, so that way you fully understand what's going on, because it does go into a lot of the stuff from like the episode Bamboo Leaf Rhapsody is tied into that. The thing that I was talking about was that the arc where Yuki, I'm talking about mainly Yuki's character arc. She is a non-emotional, completely stoic robot android alien. Yeah, she's aloof. And she was programmed to not have any emotions, and then...
but there's a bug in the system.
But there's a bug in the system that...
You know what it's like? I know what it reminds me of. It's Ghost in the Shell.
True.
I think it's a less... I think this movie's... When I say this, just keep in mind, I thought the movie was good. I thought some of the animation was really good. Ghost in the Shell tackles this topic in a more... It's more of a science fiction interesting way. Mm-hmm. It kind of goes back to the that mixture of religion, like, because essentially when she wants emotion, she wants a soul. That's what she's trading. Right. And so that goes back to the whole religion topic, and just like Tron, and kind of like Ghost in the Shell, where the AI wants to be able to procreate, it wants to live, and we should really watch Ghost in the Shell. It's like freaking crazy. Like, you want to talk about classic anime? That right there.
Oh yeah, that is absolutely considered a classic. No wonder they tried to make a Scarlett Johansson version.
There's so many different versions of that. But I'd say overall it was pretty good. And the reason I'm frustrated is because it's good and I think it could be more, but I also think that's not what they were going for.
Yeah.
And teasing me with all these high concepts and never really fully exploring that except for the stuff with Yuki in the movie. It's just like, damn, dude. You're like right there. You're like, it's like straddling that line, and it doesn't fall off into me not liking it, but it doesn't necessarily fall into like, oh wow, this is actually pretty amazing that they're able to juggle this slice of life thing while also tackling these high concepts in a meaningful and deeper way.
Yeah, but what I was talking about with the nitpicking of things that I've seen like a million times, I've watched The Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya a lot, and I've always really loved, I love the scene where Kyon is internally monologuing about how he's actually had so much fun with the SOS Brigade, and he is basically having an argument with himself about how much he loves the life that he has. But on the flip side of that, it's actually pretty selfish of him to want to go back to the old world because that's the world that he's familiar with and that's the world that he is the happiest in, at the expense of Yuki, who has had to live through the same summer 15,000 times.
Yeah, so did yeah, but like the trade-off is that Yuki was also like, she destroyed their entire existence for herself. So it's a balancing line. And he doesn't know that though. Like he couldn't have known any of that when he made that choice.
Yeah, but I just mean like in that moment, I think now I'm not saying that they should have done this, but I think it would be interesting to have just like a short or something before the disappearance of Nagato Yuki-chan, which is, I will not make you watch it. It's probably not your style. It's more rom-com, slice of life stuff. I think it'd be interesting to have a prologue of that anime where Kyon is confronting Yuki at the end of the movie, and he just puts the gun down and throws it away and is like, this is what you want? Then I can't deny you what would make you the happiest considering what you've been through for the entire series. I think that would be interesting. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but that's not her lot in life. That's
right.
The thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it is about sacrifice, but I don't really have anything else to say. It's just, it was middling.
Yeah.
But middling because it was good. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But other than that, I think it is absolutely just...
I think they could have gotten rid of that 8-episode arc. That was such a colossal... It's not even funny.
No,
you're laughing. It's not funny. It was an
laughing.
Absolute colossal waste of time. I got to episode 6, and then I was like, what the hell is this bullshit?
When I told you when you get to I told you when you get to Endless 8, watch 1, 2, and 8, and you don't need to watch the rest of it.
You guys, you seriously, like, I know you're going to be like, oh, I gotta be a completionist. It's literally... It's like they... I was like, oh, they're going to do like a Groundhog Day thing, and then they don't. And they do nothing. It goes back to, they have this interesting concept, and they do nothing with it. It is unreal.
This is where I will compare it to the light novels, because in the light novel, well, I'll contrast it with the light novel. In the light novel, it was one chapter. As far as I'm aware, it was one chapter. They do like maybe 2 loops, and that's about it.
Brevity is the soul of wit.
Exactly, but when they decided to make The Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya into a movie, they suddenly had 6 episodes to fill. They can't exactly...
They can't break break it chronologically?
Yeah, I mean, they could in the original broadcast, but that's a whole other thing. For some reason, they didn't want to adapt any of the other stories in the light novels, so we were like, hey, let's just be complete trolls and just reanimate the same thing 8 times. Completely like troll the audience, and every time they come back every week expecting a new episode. It's just the same thing reanimated with different things. It's in the Japanese one, every episode starts with Kyon's sister saying "Kyon-kun dewa," which means Kyon, your phone's ringing. And it's become a meme to how many times you hear her say that, and it's like, oh my god, we have to do this again.
Well, it's like at the beginning of Groundhog Day where that song plays every time he wakes up. I kind of feel like the fact that I've experienced so much other cultural stuff in like the pop culture zeitgeist, it kind of ruined this for me a little bit, because it's like, oh, I've seen this but better.
Yeah.
I think the reason why episode 6 feels like it peaked for me, because it feels like the culmination of everything, and then the series just kind of doesn't know where to go from there. Like, because obviously there's a romantic tension a little bit, especially between Haruhi to Kion.
Yeah.
And he resolves that tension, because that's obviously why she is frustrated.
Yeah.
In the original thing, because she doesn't know how to express herself. But then they never come back to that. Once again, setting up this interesting thing, and then they never come back to it. They never go any deeper, and it's like, oh, well, you got to keep the tsundere act up. But it's like, oh my god, it gets old after a while. I can't handle it. And it's like, this is literally, so it's interesting that I say this, because I know that a lot of people love this trope. People like go fucking over the moon over this trope. They love their tsunderes, but just after a while, it just gets so old. It's just like, you are frustrating and annoying. Please go the fuck away. And it's interesting because I'm gonna bring it back to the funny cat comic. Lucy was written as a tsundere, like that's her kind of character in the beginning. But Teshi, who is a massive weeb, who writes the story, she creates the comic, was like, what if the main character put his foot down and just said, I'm done dealing with this? What if he got tired of dealing with the tsundere and told her to fuck off, and actually like made a genuine effort to stay away from them? And so that changes the trajectory. Yeah. This makes me have more of appreciation for that. Because it's like, oh my god, could you imagine if the whole like, she kind of still does that, but not to like the extent that it was. But could you imagine if it was 7 volumes of that? I would kill myself. I would stop reading. It's like, I mean, like I said, eventually it gets tired, and like, where do you go after you've done it so many times? Yeah. And so, from an audience perspective, it's like, of course, like, the audience is getting tired of it at the same time the main character is. Yeah. But obviously, Kyon's choice is, like, what the movie is asking is, would you rather live a safe but boring life, or a dangerous but exciting life? Yeah. And so he chooses Stockholm Syndrome. I mean, like, the thing is that he could have still kind of had that life where he was. The other world Haruhi was like, yeah, sure, we can make another SOS Club. Fuck it, this could be fun. Yeah. And they could have done it. But it hits different, I guess, as the kids say. It just hits different. Yeah. They do kind of hint at the romantic stuff in the Psy arc when, after Kyon almost punches out Haruhi, when he walks into the SOS Brigade, she's like putting her hair up on a ponytail and stuff. Because he told her that he liked because he likes ponytails, and she's like, oh, I want him to like me and put my hair up, and then when he... But they need to explore that! Explore it! No, exactly, exactly. It's big frustrating, but I seriously, all I have to say... Yeah, I think that if... now, I'm not going to say that, like, if Nagaru Tanigawa, the author, had just stopped at the first book, because that's what the first 6 episodes of Haruhi Suzumiya are based on, is the first light novel. That's the entire light novel, is those 6 episodes. I feel like what would you think if he had stopped there? If I think it would have been... Well, I would have been like, why don't they explore this God concept any further? But I think it would have been less frustrating, because it like I said, brevity is the soul of wit, and so when you wrap everything up in a nice bow, and maybe have an epilogue or something where, you know, they're like open about how they feel, and then wrap it all up in a nice bow. I think that, not that it, I say better, that makes it feel like I don't want them to do anything more with the concept, which obviously there's still room to do more stuff. But I would have been like, wow, that was like a really nice miniseries. Yeah. And speaking of miniseries, I did watch all the online webisodes or whatever. They were okay. Some of them had some pretty good punchlines, but most of it was like... I think most of it works better if you're like a real diehard fan of the series and these characters. Yeah, because we're talking about the Melancholy of Haruhi-chan, which is a short series that is basically, it takes the characters and kind of parodies the show. Are those based off the light novels, or did the showrunners just make it all up? No, those are, as far as I'm aware, those are original stories. They're just, like,
parodies of the show. Like, they kind of take it, so, like, Nagato is a huge gaming otaku, and she's getting into cosplay and stuff.
Oh yeah, she plays that dating sim.
Yeah. Asakura comes back as a little chibi housemaid for Nagato.
There's like a balloon animal.
Yes, there's Mr. Kimidori, who has the same last name as Emiri Kimidori, who's in that one episode, and then you never see her again, even though she plays a bigger role in the light novels. But yep, but yeah, they do have some interesting concepts in that one, in the sense that it's just a parody of it, and I personally think it's really funny.
I would only check it out if you're like a diehard fan of the show.
And there are two other spin-offs. There's Nyoron Churuya-san, which is such an... I think it's kind of cute, kind of charming, but I think you would find it extremely boring. It's literally just animated versions of 4-panel comics strips, and that's it. And it's not even really that funny. I just find it kind of charming because there's some kind of funny punchlines and stuff every now and then, but I don't think you would like it. And then there's The Disappearance of Yuki Nagato-chan, which is a rom-com anime that is based in the disappearance world. And I think it's interesting. I think it's cute. And there is a little bit of an arc in there where the original Yuki's personality kind of comes out more. But other than that, I wouldn't say it's required viewing unless you're a really super diehard fan and you love these characters and you just want to see more of them in any capacity, because unfortunately I don't think we're going to get more anime. The anime director unfortunately did pass away in
that guy lit the whole animation studio on fire.
In the Kyoto Animation Arson Attack of, I think it was 2019, the director of the show did pass away in that attack. So unless they can get a new director, I don't personally think they're going to make new Haruhi anime.
It's been so long. I don't...
Yeah, the last season... Well, the movie came out, I think, 2010.
Yeah.
So it's been 14 years now. So.
Yeah, it's kind of... It's not like it's not like here in America where they just reboot things every 10, 15 years.
Yeah, no.
Especially because these are just really meant to be advertisements for the...
They are, yeah.
It's just... very expensive advertising. Which, I mean, I guess you could say the same thing in the West. Like, Transformers is made to sell toys.
Yeah, but, I mean, unless, like, they go the Fruits Basket route where Nagaru Tanigawa comes in and he's like, no, I want you to make more Haruhi anime. Which he probably wouldn't do. He's more into the light novels.
It's too late now.
Yeah.
It's kind of... that ship sailed.
Yeah, I don't think he's super interested in doing that. I think he's just more interested in writing his books. And if Kyoto Animation wants to make more, they will.
Well, it sounds like it was good enough for them to make a movie. I mean, this for show is a show that had a lot of passion behind it. Mm-hmm. Like the other ones, they're advertisements, right? Like for the story, but this one, especially because they did do those 8 episodes. Like, imagine having to reanimate the same episode 8 times. The fact that they went and did that, it shows that they really cared. Like, they just wanted to have fun with it. And then, like, take an arc. Let's just make it a movie. Like, we love it so much. Let's just put in the extra effort. Make it like a 2-hour, 40-minute movie, which I was surprised to see. Usually animated movies stick around not more than 2 hours. Like, we got Spider-Verse, which is 2 hours and 15 minutes. Probably 15 minutes too long. But
no, anime
still,
movies go hard for... I forgot to tell you, there is a fun fact that not a whole lot of people know unless you see this one clip from a panel with the voice actors.
Which one's the Japanese voice actors or the English voice actors?
The English. So what they wanted to do, they kind of tossed this idea around in the studio because remember, those 8 episodes, they had to re-record all of their lines for that. Though all those lines are completely re-recorded, and they had to re-record the same 8 episodes over and over and over again. Imagine how difficult that is, or how exhausting that is. What they wanted to do, or they kind of tossed this idea around, is they wanted to do kind of like a gag dub, where they would have, in one episode, maybe the characters would all be doing funny accents, maybe in another one they would all be voicing different characters, like...
See, now that would actually be interesting to do. Like, explore this concept, even if it doesn't make any sense.
That would be really funny, but unfortunately they were not allowed to do that.
They hint in the episodes that things do change, but they never show those changes.
Well, I mean, they do kind of show them their minute, like in between a few of the episodes. Maybe they do this activity in one. They do.
Well,
a
she
different
changes
activity
what
in another one.
masks she buys, which is a
Yeah.
tip off to that she is remembering every single time.
Yeah, that too.
Anyway, we are running out of battery power on the camera.
Yeah.
We've been going on for quite a while.
There's a lot to say about this show.
I mean, I really ran out of things to say a while ago. I'd just
Yeah.
be repeating myself, saying the same, oh, it doesn't explore itself too much, or enough, but it's still fine.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's pretty much all we got today. Join us next time, where, I don't know, maybe we'll go back.
We review all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Well, I'll be on his channel. This channel is more about anime and stuff, so. I don't know, maybe the next anime I'll show you will be Black Lagoon. That's a good one. Mm-hmm. It's not in a high school this time, so.
That's crazy. I was beginning to think that people only existed in high school in Japan.
That's what it feels like sometimes, but no. Black Lagoon is explores a bunch of people in their 20s and 30s, all like in the criminal underworld of Thailand, all like just shooting each other and swearing a bunch, and it's tons of fun. But
I want to watch an old one next. I don't want to watch a new one. I want to watch one from like the 80s and the 90s.
Okay, yeah, I'll try to find.
I'd rather do that. Like I want to we're gonna sit here and fucking watch Samurai Pizza Cats. Like that was like the first anime that was brought to the U.S.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Oh,
it was
okay.
the first one that was brought over in the 80s. So it's really interesting to look at that.
Yeah, we'll see what he wants to watch next, and yeah, I'll see you next time. See ya.
All right, bye.